Think about it. There is a people.
Awesome, awesome. All right, would you all please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. There, in the audience tonight, so good evening, everybody. We've got a full board this evening, and we've got 3 people and 1 person coming in on Zoom there. So we've got a couple of things tonight. We're going to open up with we do have a public hearing, and then we're going to move into a Board of Assessors meeting, and then we'll do the regular board meeting after that. So with that, I'll call a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. This is for the general assistance ordinance and appendices revisions. Do we have anybody? I'm sure you're all here excited to talk about general assistance. No? Okay. It's exciting stuff. Yeah, it's an open public hearing. So if anybody have any comments, questions, Andy, anything you want to throw in there for the public?
Just
There's a lot there.
Yeah. So these maximums that the state, Tom was asking earlier about the formula they use to determine what each county will be presented as like a maximum amount of money offered to someone applying for this program. And I'm not exactly certain how they calculate it. Lincoln County is one of the higher costing towns, it looks like, based on what they're able to receive in benefit.
Yeah, the numbers up there. Yeah.
So I can ask about how actually they calculate it. I assume it has something to do with a survey of costs of services and goods. Some of the more metropolitan areas might have more options, meaning it might be lower costs. But I don't know if it's that simple.
Except the rural areas, they have much lower median household income, so that offsets any savings from the other goods. Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out what the formula is.
Proprietary algorithm.
It's proprietary. Okay.
Yeah.
The only other thing that was in there, I don't have that first page in front of me of the ordinance. Mind passing down. I don't know if that yellow clipped. On that stack of the yellow clipped one.
Oh, the yellow one. Yeah.
It's there, I mean.
Yeah.
There was change in the legislation last year for this program, and one of the things that they considered was increasing the reimbursement rate to the municipalities, going from 75% to 90%. Don't think that went through. One of the other things that did go through was that the GA administrators in each town are going to be required to provide considering it. They need to be trauma-informed services provided, so that administrators need to acknowledge if someone's been victim of some sort of trauma, and then there were culturally appropriate services offered to any applicant that came into the office. And so we're a little unsure. We, administrators in the state, exactly what those training programs look like on behalf of the state for our administrators to be trained. But that's one of the additions or changes to the ordinance in that first section, was that we're acknowledging that we are providing that service, but we are feeling a little left behind, with the state not having told us when the training is, or
Has it even been developed yet?
unclear.
Okay.
Yep. Before the horse.
So I know one of the things at our Midcoast managers meeting, we just talked about some of this, and acknowledge that there might be other agencies around that already provide those services. Administering the GA program is really not that hard. It's just being available and being able to process it. But some of those other services that we now need to offer might be harder for us to be able to get someone informed and trained on some of those. When we're dealing with 6 of these a year. And so I think that's just something that we're kind of keeping an eye on, trying to understand what that training program looks like, so we can get our staff to a point where we're now providing the level of service we're supposed to.
Some communities outsource general assistance.
They do.
So maybe Midcoast Cap or somebody like that might have.
Right. So. Yeah, the Community Navigator program that is available to all towns in Lincoln County through the YMCA was one. Midcoast Cap is one. Places like New Hope for Women could be another one potentially when you get to the trauma-informed services. So that's just something that we're keeping an eye on, but we are acknowledging that as part of that program and ordinance, we'll be providing those services. We just need to figure out the best way for us to do that. That I think were the only major changes.
Okay. Awesome. Anybody have any questions, comments about the general assistance ordinances? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on general assistance ordinance and appendices revisions. And I will call the Board of Assessors of Damariscotta the meeting to order Wednesday, October 2nd. So we do have just a couple things on the agenda there, some tax abatements, and then we've got an updated exempt properties list. So anybody have any questions, comments about the abatements there? They were pretty straightforward.
I'll make a motion to approve abatement requests for account 860, account 286, account 1243, and account 111.
Thank you, Josh. Have a second? Andrea's going a second. Any discussion? Okay, none. All those in favor? Okay, payment's good. Get that done. Yeah. All right, that's the only action item we have.
860?
Yeah, get them all. And then so Andy was kind enough to go back through the tax exempt properties list and then pull out a little bit more info there.
Thank you for doing so.
So, yeah. So we pulled out the municipal quasi school water exempts and broke it down a little bit more there. So everybody got a chance to look that over and yeah.
Do we still have any context whether 12.8 is high or low?
I have not been able to
Yeah.
solicit that from the other service center communities,
Yeah.
but it is something I will work on so
Yeah,
we can get.
Yeah.
Seems pretty high.
It does, yeah. For those watching and those announcing this, we're referring to, we had the town manager put together a list of all the tax exempt properties. So we can see the total, total valuation and whatnot there. So it's a significant amount in the town of Damariscotta.
What's the mill rate right now for taxes?
Let's say come right up there. We get you on the, oh yeah, I'm gonna make you come up front.
18.5.
We gotta.
18.5.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay. Yeah. Linda, did you hear the question, Linda? Okay.
What she asked what the mill rate.
Our mill rate. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. It's up there. What's that? Yeah. So, yeah.
65 last year.
The tax exempt amount is 78 million.
But if you take the true tax exempt
Well,
amount, it's
Yeah,
64.5.
64.5. That's excluding municipal.
So it's a significant amount of monies. Okay, well, it's good, it's good to see, it's, not good to see, but it's a number we need to see, so we can document, yeah. Did any discussion on there now, everybody okay with that? Yeah. All right, anything else added on the assessors meeting? We good?
Good.
Nothing else? Okay, well,
I'll make a motion to adjourn assessors.
Josh made a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Tom seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So, all right, now we'll call the regular select board meeting of Wednesday, October 2nd to order. Let's get thing in a row here. So do we have, I know we got quite a few people out here. I think I know why some, I'm pointing, you guys are here for,
I'm here for River
for
House.
River House. That's what I thought. I said, I recognize you're probably here for River House. So, yeah, so we sometimes we move stuff around if folks are waiting to go back to work, things like that. So, yeah. So we do have, we've got a few things on the agenda. I may throw out, if it pleases the board on, section 5 there, we have a liquor license renewal for River House.
Let's move it up.
Does anybody mind moving that up? And, or we can wait a couple hours up to you guys. So, yeah, yeah, all right, we good with that? Okay, so we're gonna move up the liquor license renewal. Does anybody have any comments, questions? We've all seen the documents?
No, that's good.
Trying to find it in my packet here, but it looked good to me the other day, so.
Like
82.
82, is that what it is? Awesome. All right. I think we had like 117 on this one, right? Yeah. So great. Yeah, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary, so I'll make a motion to approve liquor license renewal for Damariscotta River House LLC.
I'll second it.
Josh is gonna second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. All right, so you're more than welcome to hang out the rest of the night. Andy,
It'll
when
it'll be ready, by noontime or so tomorrow.
Okay, great, thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. No problem. No problem at all. All right. Okay, so we'll go back. Yeah, let's start with our, so we've got Jan in now, right?
I believe he's at least logged in. I don't know if he's right there or not.
Okay. Well, let's get, he's in there. Let's get the minutes out of the way real quick. We can do that. And then, or I move something else around. Let's get the minutes. So, we do have minutes of the August 21st, September 4th and the 18th. I do have one thing. I wasn't here on the 21st.
Yeah, I was wondering how you opened the meeting.
I did open.
Your comments were good.
And I did pretty well. So, yep. So we just need to change, the
21st.
I'm present and I'm absent. And then I'm assuming that, second seat there, I think, Josh, you must open the meeting.
I did open the
Yeah.
meeting.
There's a couple of select board members' names misspelled. Hunter with 2 T's and my name was misspelled or something. I don't know.
It's on number 6, page 31. Yours was, I saw that too.
Oh, yeah, down on the bottom, yep. Page 31, 6, moved by Hunter, yeah, one T. Yeah, there's myself there.
And,
Okay.
and while we're at it, if you just wanna, there's a couple other, on page 32, Harbor Shoreland is, page 7 is, that's not quite right.
Well, if you emphasize the R, it is.
It is.
Harbor.
No, but then Shoreland needs an E too, so.
Well, there's that.
The pirate ship.
No,
name.
no,
We do.
That really makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're getting
we can
very.
certainly rename that.
Yeah. Have you seen
Yeah,
the
no,
English,
no, no.
have you seen the English language now? This is.
I'll
Well,
keep
yeah,
going.
25 years down the road, somebody might look at these and say.
She's not following, guys.
On page 32, yeah,
Right here.
number 7, you got it, Josh?
Harbor. Was a big R.
It's minor stuff, yeah,
Shoreland needs an E.
and then shoreline, yeah.
And then keep going on page 33. It's Shenna Bellows, which is, it's not Shauna, it's with an E. Shenna Bellows, and Shelley Pingree is actually spelled with a C and an IE, if it matters. Under Francis Perkins.
You got those, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then while we're at it, I guess I was in a bad mood when I was reading. Under the next section, under Educational Service Center, South Bristol probably needs to be.
Oh, we got an I in there, okay.
In the, there's an extra is, I guess, or something.
Don't worry, I'll.
It's all right, we'll get it, Josh is gonna edit there and we'll show you.
That one there.
Yeah.
Shelley Pingree was different.
CH.
LIE, I think.
Yeah, I think it's R-E.
Not in the right minutes.
Page 33, Linda.
She's in a minute or.
Oh, okay, yeah, another in the packet, yeah,
What date is that in?
21st, August 21st.
different page, different book. I thought minutes gonna be quick, sorry.
Keep going, there's more. The next.
Well, we gotta move, let's.
We gotta move this one
So let's
first.
move the time, so, yeah, I'll let somebody else move this one, because I wasn't here, so.
All right.
Just.
CH for Shelley.
No, I can't find the one for me, but.
Yeah, I did see it when I
know.
I sort of make notes to myself and then I'm trying to translate it from my screen to paper.
Yeah, I'll show you right there.
Yeah.
Bristol.
South Bristol.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, I got
all
it.
right, okay.
Okay.
That was in on that one.
That should be, yes, we all set with the 21st.
the 21st.
Yeah, I got that one.
We all set for the 21st?
We also have the 21st.
Okay.
I think.
All right, let's get the 21st moved.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 21st meeting minutes as amended.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
I'll second that.
Dan's gonna second. Okay. One more discussion, all those in favor? All right, got four and I'll abstain.
I got another change for the 18th.
Okay, let's go to the 4th first.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, minutes of the 4th, September 4th.
Yeah, the corrections I'd make there are on page 38. It's under select board discussion.
Okay.
Actually, Michael spoke to us, but he was talking about the comprehensive plan timing. So instead of the ordinance revision there, it was about the comprehensive plan timing, because everything else is worth missing. And then Mary, it says double.
Must be
Devlin,
And she'd get a kick out of that.
That's, yeah, that's good. All right. All right, so do you have it, Josh?
September
Okay.
4th. So select board discussion.
Yeah.
So Mary Devlin,
All right, how, what position?
right there.
Yeah.
That one.
DDILIN.
EEVLIN.
L-I-N, yes. And what was the other one, Dan, on that?
Instead of ordinance revision, it really should be comprehensive plan timing, because that's everything Michael's talking about there.
This is under you, where you were asking a
Yeah,
question, Dan
yeah,
Hunter, curious
yeah,
where
yeah.
the comp plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. While you're there, Josh.
And why is not Greenport?
No.
No, you see smoke.
Yeah.
What page?
No.
No, that's-
No.
Thought you were gonna move this along with these minutes.
Yeah, sorry, I misjudged the minutes there,
You're-
folks.
You could ask Dan to step out of the room.
Good. You gave me too much time, I think. Maybe I'll do it.
That's fine.
Is that
You
it?
go-
That ain't on that one?
I think so, yeah.
I think
That's
so.
all I got.
Okay.
Can we approve it?
So that's the 4th. We haven't had a motion yet, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 4th as amended.
Thank you, Josh.
Second.
Oh, I think Andrew got that one. Andrew, you seconded, okay, all those in favor? Okay, that was good. And we have the 18th, all right.
Section 7, official action items, says moved Anderson. Instead of Anderson.
Oh, okay, we're on page 44 in our packet.
It's under 7.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
7 official
supposed to be
action items.
removed by, yeah, just gonna remove an A, yeah, okay.
Legalize here.
I don't always catch them, yeah. Those stuff, but.
Okay, so we're gonna do this.
Bear with us, folks. This is the exciting stuff that happens at,
Process.
Yeah.
This is how the sausage is made.
Yes. Yeah.
I prefer his.
Official action item.
Everybody thinks you're back here smoking cigars and making things happen.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
Yeah, so, yep. That was it, right, Tom?
Yep. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
This is the 18th. Okay, thank you, Josh.
18 second.
No, heard Tom second that one. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor? Okay, so moved. All right, so I'm gonna throw another change at you folks here real quick. If it pleases the board. We do have Jan Wagman in from Wright Pierce.
Yes,
Later in our discussion, we were gonna talk about the deployable flood walls.
yes,
We have him here now, so I think it'd probably be prudent for us to move him up.
yes.
And do that discussion now. Makes sense, Andy? Yeah, so, we're gonna bounce around a little bit this evening. Oh. So we do have, if we flip ahead in our books here.
Sections.
And get the page number. Thank you, 110. There's our flood wall information and, Don, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Great, great. Okay, we're gonna move you. We're not gonna make you wait all night, so we'll move you up a little bit. So,
Thank you.
Andy has shared with us, in the packet, some of the designs and the numbers that came back. So, Andy, anything you wanna start out with on this or?
So in the packet, is just
Just the pictures.
the worksheet, Jan had worked and perhaps probably some of his colleagues there to research some different types of deployable wall systems that were out there. And then put that first 3 pages together with for us with links and some quick notes on those about how they work. And then that we decided to send those out for soliciting bids to all of those vendors, even though there were some that were more or less preferred than others. Just to show that let's just see what we can get back. And show the community that there are different types out there, and then we can have a conversation about what's going to work best for us in our situation. And that was the spreadsheet. So there's also, a copy on page 114 of that solicitation to the different vendors. And then on page 116 is the responses that we got back, kind of collated by column there based on some of the things that we were specifically asking for that would help us on a review, kind of comparing them side by each. One of the big ones, a couple of the big ones that we talked about was acknowledging our public highway department crew size too. And the amount of time it would take, how many people to put out the wall. In that spreadsheet there, that's to install 300 feet, that time and the number of crew. Another one that we thought was important was how much space will this take up for storage? What do we need for that? Can we put it in a trailer on wheels? Can we have to put it in a box trailer? Do we have to keep it stored in a heated space? And so that kind of shows you the volume of which we'd be storing those, how many crates they are or pallets they are. And I thought another big one was whether or not they need to be anchored. Do we need to create anchor points throughout the parking lot? Do we do that with pre-threaded, whole anchor points and put that throughout the parking lot? How do we keep those clean? Do we drill new holes every time we need to put it out? So that was a couple of them that responded that they do need to be anchored. There are some that don't. And then the things like material type, they all responded. They gave us some examples. Some of them gave us examples of where they have sold these in the past. So we'd have a chance to follow up with some of those folks perhaps and see how they work. I think I heard Linda mentioning this hurricane Helene that just came through Florida and across the southern part of the US. There was, if anyone was watching the news from that, there was in Tampa, the hospital in Tampa had deployed their Aquafence, which is one of the companies that responded. And there were some great video shots, as terrible as that is down there, of that system standing up and keeping the water from rolling over that gentleman that was standing there.
Was it one of these, Andy?
Yeah.
The most expensive one.
You get what you pay for,
Yeah.
Which one, what is it called?
Aquafence.
Yes.
112.
So the other thing I included is a kind of like a site plan of where that wall is supposed to be laid out.
Yeah.
Starting up at the end of the guardrail on that kind of eastern end of the parking lot, kind of as it would be behind the loading dock area of like Rennie's. It would run down in a line across the top of the boat ramp and then head back towards Main Street and go right out to the sidewalk and then cut across the front of the seafood and butcher shop. And then it looks like Jan, help me and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it looks like it kind of ties in and stops over in front of the decked in area before you get to the river house.
That's correct. It's where the ground elevation is up at around 11 in both ends of the wall, the barrier.
Just past like Schooner's Landings and driveway there. Elevation is high enough there. We can
So
stop there.
what's the thinking about why the wall is in the front of the seafood place and not behind it where the water is coming from?
The thinking is, if you don't mind, Andy, I can talk about that. It is related to what the town controls for land. And there's another factor as well. If we were to run it behind the seafood building, the water in, well, the ground underneath that seafood building was filled in with very porous material. So it's likely that if we, this is just on the surface and it's sealed to the water pressure seals it to the asphalt pavement, that water would get behind it and would come up underneath it and get in behind the wall in that particular location. We don't have a good, without a sheet pile wall or something else to cut the flow of water underneath the wall in the Misery Gulch area. There really isn't a good way of deploying a temporary wall in that area.
Oh, I guess you're getting wet.
So is there a correlation between price and effectiveness?
That's they all are going to leak a little bit because they just sit on the surface, but they will hold back a significant amount of water with minimal leakage for most of these products. The ones that are, the lowest price one, the box wall, that's kind of like a rigid plastic with a neoprene, some neoprene on the base of it. So that helps seal against leakage, and they kind of clip together easily through a clipping, system they have. And it's a matter of deploying a bunch of these. They're about 3 feet wide or so. So you've got to take them off, clip them together 3 feet at a time as you go down through the parking lot.
I got a question. I mean, the whole thing is effectiveness is the highest priority, I think. Because if it's not effective, it doesn't make any difference what it costs. So,
Right.
and so are we gonna ask for proven scenarios where these things have been used and how effective they were from the vendors?
Yeah, we've asked for examples and have gotten examples in the bid packages that we received. The only one that we didn't get, but there's several videos and other pictures for Tiger Dam that they show, they show places where that's been deployed, and it's not wet on one side and wet on the other side. So from an effectiveness perspective, they all have fairly good effectiveness, I would say. And there's examples, and we can certainly follow up with some of these folks and get more examples, or get some testing that they may have done to see what kind of what kind of measures or what kind of leakage there might be expected through the wall. And some of that may also be dependent upon how even the pavement is, that sort of stuff, and how even the surface you're deploying this on is.
Are they all the same height?
They all have they all are at least 3 feet high, and that's what we asked for. Some go slightly higher as well. Some go to 4 feet.
So, Jan, I'm looking over some of these and some of the videos and stuff. I got to talk to Andy a little earlier too. We'd be concerned with some of the more rigid ones, with uneven ground. I mean, it's, we have areas that now, if we had a concrete pad that was poured and it was fairly even, but is there a concern with some of the more rigid ones, like the box wall, looks a little flimsy to me, honestly, but if you've got undulations in the ground and they all kind of lock together, I'd be concerned with those more rigid ones not sealing as well.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Yeah, and the box wall, there is some flexibility in the wall itself, and with the neoprene base strip underneath it, that helps, with some of the minor stuff. Certainly, there's other ones like the ones with the fabric-based ones, like the Watergate, for instance. That one appears to be very flexible when it comes to uneven terrain. They even have examples of it deployed on, on a grassed area that may not be exactly, it's not very flat, or they deploy those right in the middle of a stream to divert a stream or something like that. So there's there's examples of some of these that are more forgiving when it comes to terrain.
Yeah.
I'm naive here and layman, you're the engineer, but explain to me how the ones that aren't, screwed down to the ground, how do they hold back 3 feet of water? How do they not?
Yeah. That, well, how they hold it back is they all those particular ones, and as even ones, some of the other rigid ones, they have a portion of their structure, whether it's fabric or rigid, is like an L shaped, and the bottom of the L is covered with water. So that water weight pushes down and makes the seal and keeps that dam or the barrier itself from moving.
Okay.
And so that water pressure on that portion of the product that's flat on the ground is preventing it from moving.
So what's the process to determine what our selection is going to be? Have you made a preliminary, recommendation or?
Well, part of the process, as Andy alluded to, we haven't, I mean, the decisions, the towns, obviously, but one of the things that we thought was quite important was how long does it take to deploy this wall and how many people? So we asked them for a 300 meter or 100 meter or 100 yard section, 300-foot section. And they gave estimates as to what, what it would take from a time perspective and manpower perspective to deploy the wall in that, for that 100 feet, 300 feet, excuse me. And so that's one criteria that I think is very important. Also the number of crates. Now, number and volume. We do have some volumes. I didn't write the volumes down for all of these, but for the most part, these could be stored in a Connex box or something like that. They all are palletized or have a way to palletize them. Some of them deploy very easily out of their crates. Others, it's not quite as fluid, if you would. Some of them, the Tiger Dam, for instance, can be deployed very quickly, but then you have to fill it with water and anchor it. So there's some effort and other, obviously you have to get pump water into the tube. And
Probably wouldn't work too good in the middle of the winter.
No.
That's right. There's some challenges there. So for and for our climate and our situation, it may not be that alone. Maybe we may rule it out for that reason.
Well, hopefully this, the need for this isn't going to occur every week, but assuming that it doesn't, seems to me you got to go back to effectiveness as being the primary criteria. And then, there are probably other ways to get volunteers or whatever in the few occasions that you might need it to help put it together. So while that's important as to how many people it takes to put together, but like if it doesn't work, doesn't mean anything.
I think one of the other ones that you have to really dive into each, that link I sent, it's also on the town website for folks if they want to review it there. You get into some of that and they talk about the process of, decommissioning or taking it down. One of the concerns I have with the different type of materials, some of the more fabric type materials or those that are water filled, making sure that before we put them away, you've got to clean and dry them. And I think about, if you've been to our public works facility, there really isn't a place other than the sand shed, and in the wintertime that's full. And when it's not in the wintertime, it's usually dirty nonetheless. So, thinking about how do we store these properly to ensure the longest lifespan of them. So the more fabric based ones, you can imagine we're going to need a big footprint to store these things. You can't just get a sunny day, because even then we still don't have a clean area to lay it all out again. So I think about that too, and like the logistics of making sure we get it put away properly.
Yeah, especially if it happens in the winter. Like
The other factor with the fabric ones too, which I like the idea of the fabric ones. So these links, folks they all have videos and stuff on there if you get a chance to look at them. So, but with the fabric ones they can form to the ground really well. They all have a type of fastening system. It's not just one full length. So the other concern would be like on the water gate and the flex wall. The flex wall, I think had, one of them had zippers, right? Oh, sorry, there's the one with zippers. Yeah, well, yeah, and that's not horrible, but I'd have to see, that's one thing we have to look into. It's like, what's the quality of it? How is it, a half-inch wide strip, or is it like a industrial? I mean, industrial Velcro is pretty darn powerful.
Oh, yeah.
They have to factor that in, but
The price for the
yeah.
two barrier.
so.
So not all of
They didn't
the
all.
vendors
Yeah.
or the products that they
Oh.
pre-selected or identified had responded. So 6 of the roughly, I think 12 that were in
Yeah.
there
Okay.
did respond.
Can I ask just a price question? How much is in the budget, or what is the award that we're working with here? Just curious.
Right, so
I
I
should
should
know.
have brought that number with me. When I was going back through again the other day to look at this after we got these, I put in a placeholder for 150 because I think that's what we had estimated it to be when we went back for the revised scope.
Yeah.
So 150 gets us in the ballpark of most of those that responded. 2 of them being above it. And I think it left us with about I want to say it was about $200,000. But that's also, a contingency for any other change orders that come in. Right now, we've only had one, it's been a credit.
Okay.
We do expect some now for some additional stone because of what they got dug into last week. And had to go a little deeper than originally anticipated. So there's still 6 or 7 more weeks of active construction between now and likely the spring, so.
Yeah.
Leaving some room for some of that, we just kind of gotta be comfortable with how far above the 150 do we feel like we can go. But I'll bring a more refined number for the next meeting.
Thank you, Andy. Well,
Yeah, and the other component to that would be if you were wanting to get a trailer or something to store these things on or in, or some other way to store or place to store them, like a trailer or a Connex box. It's not a huge number, but it's something that you might want to factor in as well.
Is it safe to say at this point we should rule out permanently anchored types? I don't see that happening as.
I think it's worth, maybe that's something we need to look a little more into. I mean, in my mind, I think about, when you anchor, I assume we're talking about anchoring it into the asphalt, because to
That's
anchor it,
correct.
the park's gonna be a little precarious. And so what does that take to create that? And do you pre-identify or kind of tap in, I guess, threaded receivers so that you always, anchor into the same locations? Do we re-drill those anchors every time we deploy it? And then my only concern is where we live and the frosting, the freezing and thawing is what happens to the surface in that area along there. As water will then enter the 850 feet of length that anchored in every, I don't know how many, if each panel's anchored in. And it looks like for the aquafence, it looked like most panels were anchored in multiple spots, so.
It adds another variable that, and it also reduces their flexibility to use offsite or somewhere else if you needed to use in another flood area or something like that. So I tend to stay away from the permanently anchored ones, but there's still questions we had on the other ones there, so.
So, yeah, Jan, I don't know if what you would recommend in that sense, and, from the perspective of preserving the pavement now, at the end of the day, I mean, what's obviously more valuable?
Yeah, my sense is that the anchoring would be problematic with the pavement over time, depending upon how many times you had to deploy them. And also for the aquafence, I mean, what I've seen from the aquafence is they're usually set up on a concrete sidewalk or some other concrete area. And so that you're a lot better able to have a permanent anchoring system into something like that rather than asphalt pavement.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's flexible in that sense, like, where
That's
it's
correct.
really well. Like some of the ones when I looked at them online, they look like they were more suited for like a concrete pad or something, to build a berm, so to speak, or something like that. So
Might be a good idea if we could narrow it down to like 2 or 3. I asked the companies if they have any local clients that we could either go to and see it, or could they give us samples of a couple of connecting pieces?
what's our timeline on this right now, Andy?
Yeah, so one of the columns there was delivery time frame.
Yeah.
One of the companies, forget which one now, I think it was the Mega Secure, they said their product is ready to go now. The 3 to 5 week lead time was for them to,
Yeah.
custom build the crates. Believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Nonetheless, the longest lead time advertised for delivery was 14 weeks. That was the Aquafence, up to 14 weeks with the Aquafence. On the low end, there's one that could be to us, the Tiger Dam would be available within 7 days. And so there's a range, the average being, closer to 4 weeks, I'd say. So, it's possible that if we could make a decision by the end of November, depending on which one we select, it's possible we could have it by the end of the calendar year.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There is a time frame that these numbers are good for, 60 days, and they submitted these to us September 20 something.
Yeah, I think it went in September, but it was mid-September. It was actually just before the 17th, because I put this together on the 17th.
You really need to make a decision before Thanksgiving.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
So it gives us this meeting to talk about it, and any follow-up questions we can go and bring back for the next meeting. I still think
Yeah.
it leaves you one more meeting in November to.
And maybe
Yeah.
some prices will come in.
I don't think they will. They had advertised it to submit by a certain date. Are you expecting any? Has anyone else come and responded after that?
Some
No.
of the pictures that don't show.
No, I haven't heard anything from any of the other folks. We did get a preliminary number from Diluvium, but that was about a year ago. And it was significantly more. It was in the $200,000 range, I think.
Yeah. There was another one there too. I looked at, it was at the, there was another one that had. It was like an erector set, holy moly.
Porta Dam?
Yeah.
Was it the Porta Dam?
Maybe the Porta Dam.
Yeah, Porta Dam, sorry, the last one, yeah, Porta Dam was super, if anybody looked at the videos, there was supports and spars, and there was a lot going on with that one, that one looked super complicated too, so.
That one, yeah, that one's used a lot in construction when they want to, temporarily create a dry space along a river or something like that. So.
Right.
We'll say that Mega Secure, even being that it's it's kind of more of a fabric type. What's interesting is, and I don't think we have a lot of applications that we find ourselves needing a cofferdam, but it would lend itself to following, as Daryl was saying, the contour of the ground that it's on, and I've seen those videos where they're using them as cofferdams if you're trying to replace a culvert kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which has its upside. I don't know that we're good enough to make that like one of our selling points per se, but it is. You don't need just a flat, smoother surface to guarantee, to have a better chance of holding back the water.
Yeah, that one was interesting. Out of the ones that we looked at through there, that one was interesting. I would be concerned about the Velcro.
Exactly.
We'd have to find it. And then like you had mentioned about the, taking it out of service, how long the fabric's good for, it's last. I think that one they showed trucks driving over it, and there was a bunch of, it's their advertising obviously, but, take it with a grain of salt, but
But it also
worth
says
looking
it's
into.
easy for deploying too, so.
the deployment time is interesting. Yeah.
It's about the same as the box
50 minutes
wall.
for 5 and then 30 for 2. Yeah.
Right. When you look at the number of people used for the Watergate, the Mega Secure. That's one there. You'll watch the videos. That's the custom built crates, and you put it. We have forks on the whacker, so you'd be able to literally pick it up and just roll backwards, and it just. You have a couple of people help pulling it out, I believe, but once you get it out of that crate, it's laying on the ground, and then you literally Velcro those sections together. It did talk about in the bigger document that they submitted, there was like a weight bar on the front of that, the leading edge of that system, and I think it suggested you could anchor down those corners, but it didn't
That's the
sound
box
like
wall?
it doesn't. The Mega Secure.
Oh, the Mega Sphere. Yeah, the Mega Sphere had a weighted lip. So when it opened up, the front lip was weighted.
Yeah, and it was an option to anchor those down.
Yeah.
But it
I
doesn't
did
say
see
you
that.
have to.
Yeah, they show in the picture here, they show that's the weighted lip on it, so. Well, let's make sure everybody gets a chance to look at these, at least the ones that responded, right? Because the ones that did not, they're moved. And it sounds like we may, the permanent anchoring system may not be best for us here with that other. No, but let's get a chance to look over and then revisit our next meeting.
Well, if it doesn't have permanent anchoring, can it go behind? Is it gonna work behind August's place?
I think the,
where it wraps well is.
yeah.
No,
the cons-
no,
I mean,
it still would just sit on the
Stick it-
surface, and water could move under in the soil underneath it.
Oh.
Yeah.
If I may.
Come on, yeah, sorry, yeah. We're sitting here talking about you, come on.
I guess I'll look here.
Yeah.
So my question regarding the hydraulic pressure is kind of the time frame and what sort of what it would look like, just because seeing from what, we're really trying to defend against, it's really like 20 minutes to 40 minutes. It's that high tide peak where it tips over the wall. And then, it was shocking by how quickly it went back out. It was, we're not fighting the Mississippi that's at flood stage for 2 months. It's, at least with these past storms that we saw was, no more than an hour, I would say. So my, curiosity is that with that hydraulic pressure, how long will it take and what exactly will happen? And, is that possible to then work with that and those numbers and see if it can be, put around the building, I guess. Yeah.
That's a good question. I just there was some old pictures of them, of the, that work being done that were shared by the prior owner, I think. And it did show, it showed that it was filled with some relatively granular material. Now, keep in mind that, the water will come up. You're right. The water will come up to a certain elevation, and we're trying to defend against both the tide, the extraordinary tide, as well as wave action on top of that. And to the actual duration of that high tide and the wave action could be relatively short. It could be as many as a couple of hours, I would think, between the wave action when you first start to need it. And water can move through that rock very quickly, rock and the other soil, relatively quickly. So, I mean, there may be a way to experiment with this at some point, and but we'd have to clear a path along the backside of it. The other thing is that from a funding perspective, we're required to have a plan that fits within the current town controlled land. And so that's what we've done. Our plan follows, keeps the barrier within the town controlled land. So, I mean, there'd have to be some work that would need to be done behind that building, because currently there's some, railroad ties and other things that are built up there for certain things. So, but I'm not saying that it couldn't be modified in the future to do that. I don't know that you'd necessarily have to buy any additional lengths. You may have to buy some corners or something like that to get around that, 2 corners or something. But that certainly is an option with certainly like a fabric wall or any of these other types of walls potentially. You may have to buy some additional corner pieces or ability to take a few more corners in order to do that.
Certainly this way, you're not protecting that building at all.
That's
The
correct.
water is coming right up Misery Gulch and
Yep.
slamming into that building.
Yeah, and that building has been raised.
Sorry, I didn't, this is August Avantaggio. He owns the building. Question by, I meant to introduce him when he came up, and I apologize. So I didn't get that out
That's
there
fine.
for you. So, yeah, but yeah, go on. Sorry, I didn't cut you off there, guys. No.
Well, I know the building floor elevations is somewhat higher than some of the other ones in the parking lot. So I don't know if that's a consideration there or not, but
One of those things that, we were better off than everyone else. And the water was probably at the high tide, about an inch from the top of the foundation. Alan raised it by about 24 inches when he poured the wall, so.
Yeah, they got raised up years ago, which.
So it's one of those things, yeah, exactly, it's, you know, very prescient decision, but any higher.
Right behind your building, when it drops off to Misery Gulch, there's, that's narrow right there, right? You can walk through it, but there's not much.
Yeah, it's maybe 5 feet.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty tight in there.
4 to
yeah.
5, but you know, I would be obviously happy to do what needs to be done to
No,
make it work, but
No, it could be that if you're going to do some work back there and we were to put in, let's say, you know, a heavy plastic barrier across that back section so that water would have a more difficult route to get up underneath the barrier, and then place the barrier behind that. You know, that might, you know, do the trick. I mean, we'd certainly, you know, certainly there's some options there.
okay.
Not all is lost yet.
No, you know, I mean, the other question that I would have to that is, you know, I know these products are not made to be, it's meant to be a circle, you know, but where I see this is the other, you know, my next move would be, how do I link in to, you know, if I have to purchase something myself, you know, link in and create an exterior, yeah, I've got it.
You have it.
I've downloaded it, so link into that wall and then create my own little island. You know, I don't
Yeah,
think,
you had a-
I'm sure they're not designed to have an exterior connection point, but, you know,
Right, yeah.
because
Yeah, how would you link into
you
it?
know, without
Private.
a secure point where it's on that corner going up the lot, it doesn't function, I wouldn't think, you know, that corner based on the water pressure is gonna kind of start to skirt around that and infiltrate.
I think one of the
Yeah,
other we've run into on the legal side of it too is getting, because if it comes in front of your building, it crosses into Schooner and it's gotta come up through there as well. So we need to have access and deed access to. So that's been something I think was discussed a while back. I don't know if it's been something that's been come up lately,
What
but
do you own on that shared side? Nothing.
No, you can see it's basically the footprint on that
It-
side.
it's
It might, I
right
mean,
there.
yeah, you can see the property line on this, I believe.
so even if it did cross over, it'd have to be in conjunction with Scott's property. It's got Folsom Schooner and make sure that all worked and
Yeah.
tied in. If it did, you know, but so that's, yeah.
I don't know, I don't
Okay.
see that this part is really gonna do much.
Which part is
So,
that?
all right,
Where it goes
well,
back to the sidewalk, you mean, where it hits that elevation,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
yeah, the reason why it does that is because we didn't want water coming around the end of it if it got to, you know, the full 100-year flood stage.
Right.
if it goes over the bridge, there's no,
No, that's
problem.
it's done, you know, I mean, we're only gonna go so far, but it is a significant elevation change that comes around that corner,
Yeah,
so.
I just think we should be
yeah.
looking at going behind Scott's place, not August's place, not in front of it.
Well, there are some of those walled options do have the corner pieces now, whether they can be teed into or not, I guess we'd have to ask them and if that's an option or not, like what August is proposing. But there are some that obviously they have the corner pieces on there. They have some that show you how you can attach to, say, a building. If your building had some floodproofing already, you might want to tie into that building to keep the water from sneaking through that corner. So now some of them do have so that's just something we can look into to see what options are there for kind of intersecting a wall, or maybe there aren't any, but we can ask.
Yeah.
And plus, as the height gets, the water gets higher, it's gonna go over your mark.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I mean, this January, I don't think was it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's where I'm thinking as far as if it's got to go in front of, which is obviously not preferable to me, you know, at what point is it modular to, as you said, T in, that's exactly the word I was looking for, to T in, you know, so.
And it looks like off the dock, it's almost a square too.
Well. There's a thought, you could also, I mean, some of these systems, so. Where this wall runs around, it goes around actually behind you, but in front of you, backwards.
Right.
Some of these other systems that have been looked at, like was it the box wall, which was the you know, relatively inexpensive, but they're made to build. I mean, some of the videos, they actually protect, you put them around a singular building. You know,
Yeah.
you can say, you can set it up and you don't have a lot of space there, but I mean, there might be options where
Right.
you may have to probably, okay, I can, if it can't tee in, do
Hmm.
you actually protect, you know, you isolate the building separate? You know, 360
Right.
degrees, there's a little bit of a conundrum there.
Right, and I was
Yeah.
just looking at the
Yeah.
cost per square or cost per foot of this stuff, and it'd be better to only have to buy 2 sides than 4 or 3.
Right, yeah. No.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
price of steaks are going up.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, okay.
um,
Well, we've got some homework to do. I mean, we've got to get back here in a couple of weeks. If everybody can, you know, we've got some stuff in front of us to look over and consider and I'll, I mean, I'm sure Andy will wander over. The place has been
Yeah.
visited several times, but it'd be.
yeah, and I would ask to give some serious thought to what might be able to be done to prepare, if it needs to be prepared in any way to go across. I know time's of an essence right now, but
Yeah. Iterations anyway, so, okay.
All right, great. Well,
Um,
thank you.
All right, yeah, no, thank you, August, Jan.
Thank you.
Anything else, Jan, you wanted to add for this evening? Are you?
No, the only other thing that I did, one of the, when you talk about timing, some of these got, or at least one of them said to me that, it's 3 to 4, or it's, this particular time frame right now. But if we get some major flooding, a lot of people might order stuff or in advance of that or whatever. So I'm not sure if their situation before the latest hurricane has changed, but so we'll have to keep that in mind, that some of these
Yeah.
delivery times may be flexible.
Yeah, well, at least there's no supply chain issues right now either.
Oh, yeah, this.
So, yeah, that, okay. Anybody have any questions while we have Jan on or?
Good discussion to
Yeah.
start.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, okay. Anything to add, Andy? Good? All right. Yeah. Thank you. You're more than welcome to hang out, but if you probably
No,
want
I've got a few other things to do. Thank you very much. Appreciate
to.
it.
If you're on the clock, we're shutting you off, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
bye now.
All right, great. Okay, now I've lost where I was, folks. Here we were. We're all over the place. Oil drywall. Let's go back to, we've got payroll warrants accounts payable. So, we do have, we have here 14 and 15 for. August, thank you. Yeah. We have 2 payroll warrants. Everybody had a chance to take a look at those, I presume, 14 and 15. I'll move the, payroll warrants.
I'll second.
Josh, got a second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, good there. And everybody get a chance to look at it and get his accounts payable 16, I believe. Yeah,
I'll move accounts payable 16.
can move that one. I think I heard Tom second down there. Any discussion? Hey, all those in favor? Okay, those are moved. All right. So, August ran out before the GSP. All right. Go get him. Where did he?
Sprinting.
Smart man. All right, so citizens' comments and general correspondence, anything come in last minute, Andy, we've got to add, or you good?
Nothing, I can't wait.
All right, good, okay. So we all received a copy of the letter sent out from GSB, I believe. I gotta get back on the page here.
46.
Page number to me.
46.
Thank you, Dan. Awesome. It was in there somewhere. All right. Yeah, it's, we've all read it. Any questions, comments, discussions? I know, Andy, you've been working with, Newcastle with Kevin. You guys are trying to set up a meeting with Lindsay, correct?
Yeah, she had offered to have a chance to meet with us if we had more in-depth questions or anything like that.
Okay.
Bring back, and we did, and we're just waiting for a time to get scheduled to meet.
They run a pro forma on this new entity. Maybe basically going it alone.
Well, she said it was neutral.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, last
I'd like
year,
to see it though, just to.
they presented some mock budgets last year based on the going in the RSU route and having the
Yes,
ESD.
yeah, that's right.
And with that
Yeah.
scenario, it was cost neutral. We were still buying into some of the shared service. I think the 3 towns, Bremen, us and Newcastle contributed, I think it was like $400,000 to
Okay.
the AOS overarching shared cost model there. And so I'm assuming that's kind of what
That's
they're
the money
talking
they're
about
using
is
to hire a finance guy.
for that amount of combined funds, what can they provide? And it sounds like they're suggesting it would be
Mhm.
at no major increase, but it'd be just be good to have that conversation and
Yeah.
understand that the ESC model, of course, provided some subsidy per pupil.
Right.
And so to understand like, you know, what does that look like now and
Mhm.
slightly different than what you had received last winter.
And I did talk to Andy about it, that what if you formed your own ESC and you were only one organization, would you still get those funds?
Yeah.
That's good questions, yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Okay.
and not, maybe it's not our concern, but what happens to Bristol and South Bristol in this whole discussion?
Not our
So
concern.
the AOS would still
Okay.
exist, and so they'd be presumably part of the AOS, which would be Bristol, South Bristol, Noblesboro, and Jefferson.
Okay,
Because they did not want to be part of us.
They didn't want to form one RSU,
No.
right?
yeah. Well, it was mostly because Noblesboro and Jefferson sort of put the kibosh on it quickly. And
They don't even want to be part of each other.
well, but
Anyway.
Well, let's find out.
We'll get some updated numbers.
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm gonna have plenty of questions.
Yeah.
good.
The letter will get some numbers, so, okay. All right, good enough. We have a letter here from Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission for Housing Funds.
Yes, I had
This was
submitted,
one, yeah.
they had opened up the, they had some ARPA funds they still need to
Mhm.
commit.
Yeah.
Before they're unable to and have to give them back.
Yeah.
And so they had mocked or modeled, you might recall, the DECD Housing Opportunity Grant, where we still don't know if we have it or don't have it. And we did get the letter saying they needed more time. And so they kind of modeled it. They liked the idea of providing these kind of workforce housing solutions from, you know, municipal or government type or partnered workers. And so I, without including Newcastle, just took the same proposal, looked at 3 sites. We'll look at 3 sites in our town completely. You know, and you know, kind of talking about hopefully identifying a parcel that would be big enough, not just to meet, you know, what the fire chief had shared, which I believe was 6 units, but could be expanded in the future if there were additional partnerships with other entities, you know, to provide workforce solutions for other major employers. And so it's looking at potentially a slightly bigger parcel as well.
Mhm.
And so what the counties should come back with is if we get the DECD funds, how and do you still want to submit to this? And if so, how would you utilize the money at that point if you got DECD funding? So I'm trying to work on, you know, what additional amount of work we might do should we receive the other one.
I think well, the answer is yes, right?
But it is, yes, it's, you know, and so they're offering the opportunity to kind of present and have that conversation with, I don't know if it's, remember it's the commissioners or some sort of review committee that's set up for the, I believe the 10th at the moment.
Okay.
So got some time. Want to talk briefly talked with Michael about just the idea of this earlier today, and just want to touch base with him, take a look at the comp plan as it's been drafted, just to see like, are there pieces in there we can kind of jump onto? It's, you know, what we've asked was 125,000, so it's like within that amount of money, what are we talking about being able to do?
Well, do any of these projects, because I don't know where they are exactly, the ones you're talking about, but they require extending water and sewer.
They may.
And so that's the kind of work that, you know, you sort of need to sort of create an environment where a developer would want to come in and do it, and extending water and sewer would be a big part of that.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the trick when you start to get into those capital costs is it needs to be spent by end of December 26th.
well, they can do some design work.
And so-
and then there's this $100 million pot
Right,
here.
right,
That
right.
that I.
Yeah, going for the big money.
Yeah,
let's keep
yeah.
going.
But it is all about,
Give you money, just take it.
but I think it is about, you know, we're not asking for amount of money to buy a parcel necessarily.
Right.
But yeah, how do we utilize those funds that are available to kind of set the stage for,
Right.
reduce the development costs for someone
Right.
that might develop it.
Exactly.
This isn't suggesting we're going to be building and
No,
managing housing,
it's
but
finding a developer,
it easier
just
for-
make it easy for them to say yes. And
right.
So some of this might be used to look for developers.
It's possible. I was reviewing a RFP that went out recently for Cumberland, and they were trying to solicit a developer to work with them to then create. And so they kind of took that kind of design build kind of approach for something versus let's design it and then go find a developer. They'd rather find a developer, work with them on what works for them and have them figure out the design based on the input they were. So it's slightly different. We've talked about it briefly, I think, for road projects, for example. Do you hire the engineer to design it and then find the company? Do you find the company, let them do a design build and work with you to, well, what about this? What about that? Whereas an engineer might come in and just say, this is what the book says you do. This is the, but you get in the field and there might be a better alternative. That just might not be seen from that perspective. So that's a proposal I was looking at the other day that I think I was starting to model this off of as part of the use of those funds is to, do we want to create that relationship with a developer potentially to look at that and other needs we have? We won't leave it on the table. We'll get something submitted.
Something out of there. Yeah. So,
Okay.
all right. Awesome. Thank you, Andy. Included the Shellfish Committee minutes in here as well. Oh,
Yeah, there's some
Yeah,
proposed,
yep.
good chunk of that is the proposed changes Kevin had mocked up, drafted following a meeting this past spring.
Yeah.
There was, I think you might recall, there was some work that the Shellfish Committee was doing to very small scale, but kind of doing some testing on protected and unprotected plots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From predators. And so there's some follow-up on what they were finding there. From like a scientific perspective, it's not really conclusive. Maybe at a larger scale or a longer period of time, you might find some more scientific, relevant conclusions there, but it does, shed a little bit of light perhaps, and at least if nothing else, kind of opens that door to, what else do we need to be thinking about? How else can we come at this and, still assuming that, the environment's resilient thing. I mean, how do we find ourselves with a commercially viable clam harvest again?
I wasn't there, but I heard indirectly from somebody that was there, that people were shocked that there weren't any shellfish at all and test things. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that, this is part of that. It's a little unclear as to why, but I think the seeded air, some of the seed just wasn't there. And so like, they're not sure. I mean, the protected boxes, so the predators they were planning on protecting from wouldn't have gotten in there. And that they still weren't finding the seed or the spat that they had seeded in the area. So it's like, well, why? Wait, what's caused that?
Right.
Was it a design flaw in the boxes? Was it something else that we're not thinking about as a predator, if you will, or a vulnerability for them?
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of lends itself to needing more questions.
Yeah. Just gave them more questions and answers at the point. Yeah. Small tests. So it was interesting to read. Yeah.
The blue crab are starting to move up.
Generally speaking, they're moving in the Gulf of Maine.
Yeah,
They eat the green crabs. That's a good thing.
I
And
know.
then you can eat the blue crabs.
And then we
Oh,
can eat the blue crab. Exactly.
Yep.
I think that would be kind of
Except
good.
don't eat too many of them until
Well-
they get rid of the green crabs.
Another reason they met was there was an experimental aquaculture lease presented that would be in the intertidal zone. Ryan McPherson was on the Newcastle side of the river.
Mhm.
But that's something that the committee needs to make a recommendation on and review. So they did that as well. We do have another one that we just got notice of today. It's not, comments are open for another few weeks, for Mook Sea Farm off of Days Cove. Another standard lease. I think it's a renewal. It looks like a renewal.
Oh,
You go on the state website and it has it plotted out in yellow as a pending. So we'll provide what we got with that in between before the next meeting, but if you want, we can just start with the next meeting's agenda if you have any questions.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you. All right. And we have the Lincoln County budget letter here. Oh,
Yeah, Dan had asked about this. We did get it. It was mailed to us, not emailed, which is often where I look. And so it was in my inbox for a couple of weeks before I noticed it.
I saw there was a date on there.
Yep.
Like, oh, Thursday, September 19th.
So we did miss the what do they call that? The
vote.
caucus.
The caucus,
Yeah.
yeah.
They still have public process for reviewing the budget. I did ask if we get a copy of it. It sounds like it's only printed in hard copy right now.
Yeah, that's what I got last year was a hard copy.
So I just send it digitally. We'll send it out. Oh, well, you can pick it up. Okay, so
Send it by
we're working
mail,
on
hard
getting a copy of that.
Yep.
So did they find somebody to serve on this? Because
I don't know the answer. I didn't ask that question.
that went last time.
One of our former board members, who was a select board member in Whitefield, is now on that committee, so. I've talked to him, Brent Hall.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So.
Brent's on that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure they'll, he has more questions normally than I do, so he'll be second one at the end of it.
Good.
They do show that there was a public hearing last Thursday. Initial presentations, and then Friday, the 18th is when they plan on having the Budget Advisory Committee work session at 9 a.m. on that Friday.
Yeah, I went last year. I'm like, maybe I'll just go again. Just-
They said you can participate, you just can't vote.
Right, and I guess. I'm not trying to pick a fight, but, having it normal working hours for someone that's trying to. Work.
9 in the morning on
Yeah.
the
Day, during the day and stuff, yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard.
So.
Yeah.
I think they ought to try to, if they want more participation, they're gonna have to concede and try to do it, after 5 or what else, like the rest of us have select board meetings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It used to be the case that they used to have them in the evening.
They do in the evenings, yeah, so, okay.
You can bring it up, Dan.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's already been brought up.
It's probably been,
Maybe
yeah,
you can
sure.
forcefully bring it up.
So,
I think we've got new commissioners coming, so.
They're gonna be open.
They're on phone, at least 2, if not 3, is next year.
Should be two.
Two new ones. Yeah, 2 new ones. Yeah.
all right,
I think they can, those ones can drive during the day, so.
Okay.
In the day, so.
all right, well, we're moving along, Andy, I saw your manager report in here somewhere, right, the other day, yeah.
Did we do the vending machine license?
We're getting there, yeah, we still got some official action to do, yeah, so.
Where did you see?
Andy, any updates? Yeah.
Where did you see it?
Yeah, I thought
It was in the email packet, I'm
What?
pretty sure. Thought I saw it.
I couldn't find it.
I read it.
let me pull it up.
Well, it's easy, parking lot's getting.
Yeah, I
going
can
well.
start on that one.
Just throw it out there, that's all right.
Looking for it.
You don't need it on paper, we know it's, yeah.
I didn't find it.
So the parking lot project, I went down there, I was down there this afternoon around 3:30 I left. At that time, they were pulling back some of the fencing and just protecting the holes that they had to leave open for now.
Yeah.
The crew is being pulled for the rest of this week to something that's come up. Crooker had something come up, some sort of emergency situation, and so they won't be in when Thursday or Friday this week. They'll be back in on their Monday.
Okay.
And so given that, they were able to get the chamber system completely covered and graveled in and rolled out today. And
Yeah,
so
they made a good push here in the last, week and a half down there, there's been a lot of material moving, so.
So Tracy, the foreman, wanted to try and, protecting those holes, keeping those people safe from, driving into those holes, just fenced around some of those. So I'll go back down either tonight or in the morning and kind of see what's left. And Daryl was noticing that there's kind of a way, if you come in, like, and leave from the gas pump and turn left into the parking area, you could get yourself in front of the bathroom and then not get out without having to get turned back around. So there's a big
Yeah.
bone pile down at the bottom.
Wouldn't say it's totally accessible or conducive to parking yet. The section behind 105 Main Street, it's open, but there's no access from Rennie's end, so it kind of comes in, funnels in behind and then directly behind 105, it is open in section, but they did a good job. The fencing is around the open areas, it's well marked. But it's awkward, so I'm not sure how, as far as parking would go, if
Right.
Public Works could actually, lay something out that would make sense. It still may be, I wouldn't consider it 100% open for parking right now until Andy gets a chance to look at it and see. So we've still left some parking lot closed signs up down there, I think.
Yeah,
Just,
so we'll look at it in the morning and message that to folks for the weekend. If we can get anything in there, I know some of the businesses will be grateful for that at this point.
Yeah.
And just say, as far as the schedule goes, they're happy with where they're at. Monday, they plan on working on the outfall that would kind of go out behind Metcalf's, replace that outfall there. They've stubbed all the basins that are attached to that system already, or have them exposed so they can grab a hold of those and run the outfall So they're gonna start with that one and kind of work their way towards the boat ramp and kind of around the parking lot that way. So the hope is that they'll be able to get potentially both of those structures in at West End before they stop next weekend. Next week they'll be in through Thursday.
Okay,
And Pumpkin Fest happens.
and then, right, it's gonna, yeah, so they're gonna let
So
go.
when Pumpkin Fest happens, the parking lot's not gonna be available, right?
Not, it won't be open for parking.
Yeah.
We'll have the ability to get the emergency vehicles in there as we need to. The people can still get it in there and watch them. We're gonna pull that fence
Yeah.
back as much as possible, and there's plenty of room for people to watch the regatta still.
General Assistance.
Typically no parking along that guardrail anyways.
Yeah.
For that event, and so I think it'll be safer in that sense, and not having 150 cars trying to move around with 2,000 people walking around back there after that event gets done. So, there'll still be access for building owners as they've had it now during that weekend. Kind of minimally along the back there. But yeah, we're working with the organizers at Pumpkin Fest and met with them today actually, and kind of came through plan A, plan B, plan C kind of thing. And we're in a good spot with them to make it work. We'll just know better as they get into the first couple of days next week, how that outfall goes, and have a better sense to know what the game plan will be. So we have a couple of options with them. That continues to consume most of the fair amount of time. Going down, checking in on that.
I know the chamber is still looking for volunteers in some of the paid parking lots where they're trying to raise money for the chamber. Rotary is volunteered for non-paid parking at GSB and Hammond and Coastal Rivers, so we got that covered, but no chamber is still looking for volunteers.
Okay. Yeah, I've been right more or less in the middle of it downtown. I've been, happy with the progress down there, as with a different hat on, is business down there. So they've seem to communicate well, and the project's been moving right along. So yeah, if the weather holds out, knock on wood, yeah, been pretty good. So yeah, so Lisette, yeah, come on up, yeah.
I thought that, at this time, people will be killing each other for parking spaces, but hasn't happened yet. And I think that as some people get frustrated around, and there have been a couple of incidents with me. But so far, I'm really proud. This has been really going along.
That's
And
great
it's
to hear.
a very rare.
Right in
Yeah,
mind,
because why-
because you've got private parking and a lot there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I have the business, they are taking, giving
Yeah,
out the
yeah.
business, but it's been really, it's not that as bad as I thought it will be. And I've been
Awesome,
talking
yeah.
with other, some other business owners, and yeah, it's not being, and I guess some of the business were afraid about how this will affect their businesses, right?
Mhm.
But it hasn't really, and the weather has been helping a lot too.
Yeah.
So
It's been busy downtown.
It's been busy,
It's,
yeah.
that's good to hear,
Busy.
Lisette. Thank you. That's, yeah,
Thank you.
awesome. Glad it's not affecting you over there, and it's, yeah. Oh. Yeah. Linda, did you get that, Lisette Griffin? Yeah, okay, yeah, so. Awesome. All right. Anything else in your?
I had other things. I'm drawing a blank. What I added and I can't seem to find. I know I did it.
If it comes to you.
I had drafted out all of the recommended motions and
How's the
Yeah.
code
Yeah.
enforcement search going?
it's not.
Yeah, all right.
I just haven't posted it. Just a matter of time. And
How about the police person?
the chief got back Tuesday he was out for 2 weeks on vacation. So he had 2 more applications come in while he was gone. So I think he's up to 6 or 7 right now.
Oh, really?
A couple of them are blue pinned, which is nice. The rest of them, I think,
that's
were
good.
needing a green pin still. So, which means they had to go to the academy. There's 2 a year. So he plans on, I imagine, next week diving into that deeper and trying to get some interviews set up and a little bit of catching up to do for this week. So, but otherwise, the officers have been, pulling some extra shifts here to keep making sure we had someone on, because Jason's been doing Mondays and Tuesdays, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We have day coverage already from one of the officer shifts. So chief will be out Mondays and Tuesday mornings, and then usually about 10 o'clock. So the most they can work is a 16-hour shift. So about 10 o'clock, some of those days he'll have the night officer come in
Yeah.
and just start early those days just to have the additional, so he has time to do the admin stuff still. So I know he's been trying to balance both being on patrol and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
just tricky, so, okay.
last I knew, we'd be getting into that next week and reviewing those
Yeah.
more thoroughly.
We all good winter contract, snowplow contract, sand and salt?
Just need him to get the line of credit. We've had some back and forths apparently between my review and the attorney's review. We just had some things we had to button up on that contract.
On the
there that
contract,
we
okay.
should have had, and then we didn't.
Yeah.
The value of the contract we didn't put in there initially, so
Yeah.
wasn't
It's an important number.
an issue for the bank if they're going to give them line of credit. So
Yeah.
we were able to add that in fine. So that was a little bit delayed, but we're good with that. He got about 200 yards of mixed sand in there right now in the sand building. The salt building is up. Our guys were able to put that up this past week. So that's good.
Great.
We got 3 more truckloads of salt scheduled to come. One came today, apparently. Andrew
Yeah,
was
that's
there
Andrew.
checking out the facility when it
Visited the
arrived.
shed, so, yeah. Yeah.
Very exciting.
The crew's been really good. I mean, they got that building up pretty quick. We did have to call in some extra hands there yesterday morning, but John was great in facilitating getting that up. The truck is getting the work done on it at Copeland's right now. That long list of work we've talked about.
Yeah.
We are renting a pickup truck. We had a hard time finding a 550. We rented a bigger truck for a week. And the price on that was a lot. And just the week we had it, said it's just too much for what we're doing. We're not hauling stuff. We're trying to get around and do small tasks. I think he said it took $30 worth of fuel just to go from here to Waterville. So he's like, it's just, if we were hauling stuff every day, it'd make sense, but we're not.
Story, yeah. Yeah, so you can get
Um,
by with something like
yeah.
that every now.
We're able to, the few times we're going to need a dump truck, we're able to borrow one. And so they're able to make the run still with the pickup truck, and the price was pretty reasonable for a month, and it locks in a certain mileage, up to a certain mileage without an extra fee. So
Okay.
we'll do that, keep them moving. They were trying today to make use of the lift while we still have it. It's like a 50-foot lift, 60-foot lift that we rented for a month to help get the sand shed fixed up, and we thought we'd do some tree work with it. And so they're on Pine Ridge, I believe, to trying to make use of that for the rest of this week. Just share the cemetery. Met with Scott Abattoni and Patty yesterday at Bethlehem Cemetery. You might be familiar with the water line work that's happening
Right, yeah.
during the district. And so Hager's doing that work for the sanitary district, and they're going to be going up Back Meadow Road, probably, if not this week, probably starting next week. And it sounds like they'll be going past that cemetery, and we're trying to get a service there for a water spigot. And they're going to place a hydrant somewhere in that first roughly 1,000 feet coming off of Main Street there. So we were met with them, with Scott yesterday for placement. And so we're just going to do a quick modification on that fence so they can access and get the spigot on the back side of the fence. But we're going to have a couple of trees taken down. There's like a cluster of maples that grew that isn't doing very well. And there's some good sized limbs on there that we keep losing. So we're going to take that down completely. It's growing right along the fence, probably 2 feet from a gray headstone. So we're gonna take that down before it comes crashing down, and then there shouldn't be an issue if they get into the roots there. And there's a couple others that we noticed that we're gonna at least get pricing on and keep on the radar. And if it works, we might do it now. We're hoping to preserve maybe one of those cedar trees that run along there. I guess that used to be cedar. The name of it, cedar, a cedar bog or cedar swamp, or I can't remember. Had like a historic, so those are kind of the remaining cedars from whatever that was named. And so most of them are on the backside, away from the road, on the backside of that fence. And so as long as they can pull that water line into the road a little bit, we're hoping to stay away from those root structures. But if not, then there's probably 9 pretty big cedar trees that run along there that we don't want coming down.
Yeah, okay. The district's communicating well with you, it looks like, with road closures and disruptions in traffic and whatnot. We got a few notifications there, I think, something came up the other
There have
day.
been a few notifications. I have keep communicating with Scott. So I just, please let us know when there's going to be closures and disruptions to the road openings. My understanding is on Back Meadow, the contractor plans on utilizing temporary lighting, traffic lights.
Oh, okay.
On that stretch there. So it's just,
Yeah.
we just want to make sure we get proper notification out to emergency responders and.
Yeah, and then try,
And fire and whatnot.
residents on the roads and whatnot, just they've
Right.
got an idea what's happening, so it'd be great, and they keep in communication with you, so.
Yeah,
Get the
there is,
notifications out.
there was a long email that went out from the contractor to all the emails provided to them from the district.
For the ratepayers, right?
So
Yeah.
if you had your email in with them, you got it. If you didn't.
Yeah.
I shared a portion of that. It was supposed to be Monday, a shutdown Monday of water service, and that didn't end up, there was a change in the schedule, so they tried to do that yesterday and there were some minor complications with
Gotcha.
that subcontractor getting that done. So they were back in there today. I don't know if it went successful today or not. But they'll be,
Out by GSB school.
They're down the end of Hammond Street there. Yeah.
so I think there was a plan, there were, as of yesterday, they were planning on a shutdown, not this Thursday, but next Thursday for a temporary shutdown to do the other end of that. I don't know if that'll stand or not, but
Gotcha. Okay.
I just encourage Scott to let us know if you want us to share anything through our listserv and on our social media, we can do that. Just let me know.
Right, so we have non-ratepayers, but residents on the roads that are traveling, that,
Yep.
yeah, the great, the more information they have, the better, so anywhere. Great, okay. Awesome, all right, well, good, anything else in your memory? We're all set, move on? Yeah.
Nothing on the record.
All right, folks, let's dive back into official action items. So we get River House we took care of. We do have a vending license for trucking good food. I like the sound of that. So I don't think we have any, this is from Mallory Heberlin, Trucking Good Food, and they presented an application for public vending license. Looks, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Anybody?
So which
Yeah.
location is 40 Main Street?
Yeah,
That's the River Falls Trust former
Okay.
property.
okay.
There, yep, so, good. I like fried Brussels sprouts, sound delicious. Love Brussels sprouts, great, so.
Say River
Oh.
Falls Trust. Where-
That's the, yeah, sorry, that's the former Ed Dardis, the attorney's office there, right on the bridge.
Oh, and over there, right
Street there,
Just
yeah,
they just spray pressure
Just
wash
fire
the
spray.
siding.
Yeah, so, oh, this sounds delicious, make me hungry, no.
As long as they have permission, we.
Right,
Yeah.
And up to state code.
Yep.
I would assume that.
Yeah, looks like, yeah, so.
The vending thing comes up every year with Pumpkin Fest. Folks do want to make sure they're doing things right, and every year it's like
It's a weird ordinance.
reminder of, okay, we need to go through that ordinance
Yeah.
still.
It's a weird ordinance
deal
for
with
us,
that.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
they want to do it right, and so
Yep.
they brought this forward, and I don't see any issues with it.
absolutely. Vending, what's the vending fee right now? Is it 50?
I think it's $50. It's good for the year.
$50 for, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, I'll make a motion to move the vending license application for Trucking Good Food LLC.
Second.
All right, thank you, Tom. Any more discussion? All good? All those in favor? Okay, all right, and we have the general assistance ordinances we had the hearing for earlier.
I'll make a motion to approve the general assistance ordinance.
Thank you, Josh. Andrew, do you second?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. Any discussion on those? Good. Okay, all those in favor? All right, that passes. Okay, and then, where's the next one here? 103, right? Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Boy, I gotta back up a little bit. I got ahead of myself. Yeah, there we go. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I get too far ahead of myself. So, and this is the the municipal state agreement, modification 1. There we go, right?
Yeah, so it's been a few years. I think it was 2020 when the town signed the contract for this MPI. This is the multi-use by-lane.
Yeah.
And that goes from the property line, shared property line at Hannaford's and the gas station up to the school. 8 to 10 feet wide, be a multi-use path. Crossing Biskie Road, there'll be a crossing to go from cross Main Street from Biskie to Church. And so an upgrade to that lighting infrastructure there, and then another crosswalks being planned from like the YMCA to Round Top. So there'll be 3 crosswalks getting across Main Street on that stretch.
With a sidewalk, right? The whole point is to have a sidewalk with the crosswalks?
Correct. Yeah. The sidewalk being the 8 to 10 foot wide path that goes on that south side of Main Street.
Multi-use.
Yeah.
So the original contract, this is modification 1. The original one was basically the planning work. There was I don't even know if at that point they had an estimated project cost or not. So they're through the planning work. I think that first one was like a total of 75. I forget what it was on there. Minimal for that first phase for us. The estimated construction cost is 1.59, I believe. And the agreement is that we pay 20% of that cost with them. We share that with them, with the state. So that would be total cost of 1.51 million, and our share in total would be 302,000. That's at the current estimated cost. It's not out to bid yet. And so that's kind of the next step. If we agree to this, I recommend that we consider using the sidewalk. We don't have enough revenue currently annually coming into the TIF for me to feel good about recommending using the TIF money. Doesn't mean we can't make a motion later on if we feel comfortable with that. But to be able to sign this, I'd recommend that we, at the moment, at least consider using the sidewalk reserve money.
Yeah.
It's just pulling that up. When I looked the other day, I think we have, with this year's contribution, we were at $549,000 in the sidewalk reserve. Unaudited version, but that was my estimate carrying through the last few years of what I knew we spent. We had already this year slated for 75,000 to go towards. What's that? Just did it.
Just did it.
So it's working with the MDOT for the.
Oh, the planning initiative. So less 75 for that. So we're at 460,000 roughly.
Well, we've been trying to budget for this anyway.
Right.
This is what
Right.
we're trying to do.
Right. So we do have the funding currently in our sidewalk reserve. That's why I'm recommending you to consider using that. If the TIF ends up generating the revenue that it could, this project would complement that and be in part of that TIF. And so we could, if we needed to look at that, there's other sidewalk extensions that would connect to this that will also be very suitable for the TIF revenue if it starts being generated. So,
all right.
we do have.
I'll be happy if we do this.
Yeah. And did I see like a 2006 date on it someplace?
Some invoice dates, right?
Someplace I saw something for a
Yeah,
date.
they've estimated.
I didn't think it was next year.
2027.
No, it isn't.
2027.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's some invoice dates.
Page 102.
Yeah.
I am still waiting for a response. The question that came up with the state currently working on and us trying to partner with them on that Main Street, Business Route 1 improvement project.
Yes, the whole thing.
Whether or not, and so I've asked a couple, at least twice, if not three times, just haven't gotten a response yet. I still finally got this. So it does still kind of lend the question of like, well, where does this play? This makes me think like we may have to use this or potentially lose this opportunity for cost sharing. This is pushing it out. Instead extended from July of 26 to July of 27 as an end date. So,
Which means the other part would not be going on until after that.
right. So, I mean, if at one point they were talking about they might put it out to bid early in 25, which means you might see someone start in the fall of 25, maybe.
Really?
And so even if they start that soon, I mean, that does give them the time they would need to be able to do that. Completion by July of 27. And so there's a lot of fine details in between here and there, but I don't think this is them pushing it off for the Business Route 1 project. That's still got 2 or 3 years in the works of planning and figuring out what the scope is.
The other hand.
So I don't think, by the looks of it, I'm still waiting for that answer, but I still feel like if the board feels comfortable proceeding.
Still feel safe to move ahead on
Yeah.
this.
Not lose this opportunity to get this built, let the other
I
project deal
agree.
with how
Yeah.
it may or may not impact it later.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Sorry, Daryl, I got another commitment, so.
Oh, you gotta go. That's right. Yeah. No, Tom's gonna duck out on us here, so he can miss all the fun at the end.
Yeah.
You're excused, Tom.
All right,
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Well, I can,
I got all I would need is just your consideration for me to sign the agreement on behalf of the town. And then acknowledging that we would be utilizing the sidewalk reserves funds to
sidewalk reserve.
commit our share of the cost.
So I can make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the updated MPI agreement and utilize the, when we give it a number, 320,000, up to, 302, sorry, up to 302,000 from the sidewalk funds.
Mhm.
That makes sense. A good one. All right.
I'll
That
second.
work. Josh, can a second? Okay, any discussion?
No,
All those in favor? Okay, and then we, Tom is out. Oh,
Abstaining.
all right.
Be going.
He's absent, yeah, so, okay, so
Hey.
2 out of there. All right, great, great.
Okay.
Okay, so a couple more things. Well, no, one thing last, right? We did the flood wall already, that's right. All right, so yeah, Andy, this has come up a couple times, past year or so with the equipment. Not really, no, it changes somewhat, so.
Yeah, so the last winter was a little bit of a learning curve. We didn't have Hugh for the first time in 12 or so years, so between Merrill and I, and then me being a little more unavailable starting in January last year, and the whacker being the age that it is, it was down, multiple service requests for that. We rented a few different pieces of machine. It just was reality is we don't have a good backup machine if that's down. It's 2016. It's got some hours on it. We're trying to take care of it the best we can, but we still don't have a backup if we need one. And so we do have a lawnmower. It's not big enough to run what we would need on there to try and keep up with the sidewalk work. We don't have the attachments for it currently that we would need for it. So the idea was the consideration of buying getting rid of the smaller lawnmower, getting a bigger lawnmower, small yard tractor, and buying the attachments we would need to allow that to service the sidewalks in the event that the whacker can't, or the possibility if we are able to, you've approved us buying those salt cubes, they could run in tandem potentially.
Put them together, yeah.
Which would cut the hours in half of the whacker because it's otherwise been doing both tasks.
Right.
Do you know off the top of your head how many hours on that machine now, roughly? Put you right
I
on the
want to say
spot.
it's about 3,500.
Okay, yeah.
It gets the only piece of machine we own other than the truck.
Oh, I know,
So,
it's right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's aging, the environment we put it in, and then the hours on that are, it's not to the point where it needs a rebuild or anything, but it's.
Well, the potential for breakdowns increases as the hours go up, yeah, yeah. And what, with that machine too, serviceability, I as far as
Still
getting
water.
parts and things
Yeah,
like that.
it's a German brand. There's only that, to our knowledge, one company that'll work on it in the state. That
Yeah.
particular machine. There's a couple other Wacker dealers that service other types of equipment made by Wacker Newson, but there was, I think, Jordan Equipment, I think, sells Wacker Newson, but they weren't willing to work on that machine.
Gotcha, yeah. That creates an issue logistically with, you can't get the
So-
machine fixed, so.
There are options, I think, in getting a reliable backup that might make sense, and just kind of checking with the board to see if you want us to go through the kind of the final steps of looking and talking. There was 3 dealers that they went and looked at. There was a Bobcat machine, a John Deere, and a Kubota. 2 of them being right in Union, so much shorter trip to go work.
Yeah, that's important, sure, yeah.
Bobcat's got
Service
close as
support.
Augusta now, I think, for Bobcat. Otherwise, the other one's in Westbrook. Yeah, we've worked with.
Yeah.
So,
And they're all good machines, I mean, with yeah, okay.
yeah. So on each of them, what John's gone and done is looked at like a 1000 series tractor. If you're familiar with those, the one we have is a 300. Josh, you'd mentioned you have a 700 that you utilize. Lincoln Academy has a 700 that we looked at last year. The 1000 series, just a little more horsepower, pretty much the same dimensions,
Or the wheelbase instead of longer.
a little bit longer.
Yeah,
But the width on that is, I think, right at 48. The implements you can get, I think, are about 48 or 50 inch in most cases for the snow removal stuff
47 and 54, I think, or,
on the mower.
on the
On the snowblower.
snow blower. Then the mower's at 48 to
Right.
60, which we probably get a 60.
oh, there's a 60, yeah. What's how big is that machine horsepower? What's it?
Some of them, if you got a 1023, it's 23. If it's a 1025, it's 20.
Oh, the 25, so, okay.
Yeah, they're on that ballpark at 21 to 25. I think the 3 different models we're looking at. there are options for attachments. It's interesting. So I think there's an opportunity. I was talking with John about this. If you get the front loader arm on the Deere, I think it is, you have the ability to get a conversion kit to be able to grab some of the implements we have right now, that we put on the front of the whacker. The added cost of having the loader arms is, it's like, well, which attachments would we use? Is it worth, because you have to get the loader arm, and I think that's a $4,000 or $5,000 deduct. If you don't want it, and then there's a conversion piece that goes on that, even that's another $800 or $1,200. So it's like
Quick change in the buckets.
we've talked about, do we do that? So before we dive too far into the weeds on any of that, I just wanted to touch base with the board. Is that, how you feel about us looking into more seriously beyond just quick pricing? All of these were priced out with cabs. We can talk about whether we put a cab on it or not. Snow blower blade, snowplow blade. One offers a V blade from the factory. There are some aftermarket ones we could probably get if we wanted that option. They include mower deck. One of them didn't have a factory cab for that particular unit, surprisingly. And so he's done as much as kind of seeing that quick review on, kind of all of what we would want in a perfect scenario. And so that's where the pricing on there that I've presented ranges from 32 to 48,000. We've got $60,000 roughly in the highway equipment reserve. So if we wanted to pay outright, we could. Some are offering some pretty aggressive low interest or no interest financing if you spread it out over 48 to 60 months. Some are offering higher cash incentives if you pay outright. And that's kind of the next step, was to really look at that and bring that back to you to see if you.
Some of them will offer a municipal rate.
Oh, okay, there's another option, yeah.
And you've tried some of these things, so you feel comfortable, you kind of know what you want.
We tried TYM, I think, is that the brand last year?
So well.
Its size is comparable to these ones, but we checked it while we had it. The machine did not work for what we needed for that storm.
So what isn't gonna work.
But we were able to use that similar dimension machine on the sidewalk to make sure it could make the turns and whatever, and we would still take that extra effort now to make sure that, that size machine would work for us with some of those implements we're looking at.
Well, it would make sense. So, you mentioned the cab. If we're going to invest in something, it needs to be, year-round capability. And if it had an option to use existing equipment, because it sounds like we eventually, with the whacker still being serviceable, you'd almost move one into a frontline machine and move that back. So if there's serviceability between the equipment, that would make sense. You have to buy certain implements to fit one and not the other. It makes sense to dig into it a little bit further.
I guess the only thing is we have to, the salt. If we wanted to put on a 3-point hitch, because the cube wouldn't work, you could still get another salt spreader for the back.
Right.
For a 3-point hitch. Like we kind of had before.
Right.
So then you have, if the whacker is out, and you're unable to use the cube system, then you'll have that as a backup.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, your capacity may not be as great, but you'd still have
The more versatile it is. Yeah.
The flow, the hydraulic flow on some of these is the only other thing is, for some of the implements, you're not going to have it. The snow blower on these is going to be a little bit smaller than the one we have on the whacker.
You can do Church Street sidewalks.
Right.
A lot better.
Yeah, we got some narrow spots on the ones we've got to maintain. So the whacker fits on all of them. It's the length of that. Some of the turns are really hard to make on some of the sidewalks with that, because that whacker is a lot longer. These will be shorter wheelbases than that. I think the wheelbase on that's like it's 8 or 8 feet, maybe 9 feet. Whereas these are 6.
Yeah. Once you get the snow blower on though, it's a little bit longer.
Right.
But we went and looked at Lincoln Academies last year, and they have a gas one that's similar to what I run with a cab and a snow blower on it. Yeah. I mean, it works, they work well, and that one's a gas one, and you get a diesel, a little bit more power.
Right.
So
So I mean, I'd like to, go back to the ones that he's reached out to and just get some, ask him more about the numbers and make it
Right.
known that if we're serious to look in that a little bit closer. I like the idea of financing it in some ways because then you can create a level payment over the next 4 or 5 years with 0% interest potentially.
Yeah,
At least you're not having to do
best option
all
is-
of it at once.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of treat it like a lease to own, kind of like a rental almost. And then it's yours after 4 years or 5 years.
But I mean, with all the sidewalks that we've been adding the last few years and we're gonna add more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
If you have 2 people on your crew,
Increase.
one go one way, one go the other.
Mhm.
And we need something as a backup, because last year did not pan out too well.
No, we don't want to get into a position where that whacker's done or out completely and they're scrambling to rent a machine again or something, so. Yeah.
So I don't need an official motion, just kind of a checkpoint with you guys to see if that's something that we should continue researching. And,
We have to.
some of them are, the turnaround time on some of those manufacturers, we could have it before this winter. Some of them are a little bit longer lead time right now to get all the components we would want.
Another thing to look into when I don't know if they offer, service plans too, or anything like that, extended warranty service plans. For preventive maintenance is, where we're not doing it in-house, it would be something to look into, where it goes up and gets everything done and ready to go instead of waiting for stuff to
Yeah, and I think
break down.
here is like a 700-hour warranty, like 4 years or 700
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll see, warranty comparison and
Mhm.
service plan comparisons.
I think Kubota is pretty similar, and I don't know what Bobcat is, but
Yeah. Okay.
but I'm surprised. Probably Bobcat didn't offer a cab on that one.
I think it was the one that didn't.
That would, yeah.
There's some aftermarket stuff, but I think it was Kubota. I think Kubota and Deere had them.
So we used to have a Deere prior to the Wackanoosin, and we should have kept it.
Was it about the size?
It was bigger,
Oh, okay.
but we should have kept that, and then because we traded it in towards the Wacker,
Whacker, right?
and
Okay.
we had a bigger salt spreader
Mm.
on that than we currently have, and we were told it was gonna be the same, but it didn't.
Yeah.
We went behind.
Okay. Good, Andy, with that? Yep. Keep plugging away, dig into a little bit
See if we
deeper.
can get that presented for the
Best
next
deal,
meeting.
sharpen your pencil and get the best deal you can find.
Before the snow comes.
Yep.
And just ask what they have for municipal rates and municipal
One of them,
discount.
one of them did apply it on the numbers John got back.
Yeah.
I want to say it was either Kubota or Deere. I can't remember which one. They had already knocked down. They showed the.
That's good.
Michael, I know you're away. Did you have anything? You just hanging out? Did you have anything
Just listening.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, all right. I didn't want to leave you stranded out out in the back there and give you your chance. So, yeah. So we have, no more board business. So going into, let's make sure we do our homework on the flood wall stuff. Any questions? We don't have to wait for 2 weeks to ask it. Andy's get it through his email. Any questions there, we can direct it to Andy and he can
So,
throw stuff out to you.
I guess a
Yeah.
real quick question is,
Yeah.
which ones are more designed for the Northeast United States
Mm.
rather than Florida?
Right.
or a Gulf
Well,
Coast,
temperature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and how does Velcro stand up in the middle of a snowstorm or ice storm or, well, if you have to take it apart, how's it working,
Right.
freezing weather, and
When does it have to be replaced?
so
So
that's
we can,
kind of my,
homework on it.
those are questions I'm gonna ask, whatever, so I'd rather have them get them answered now.
On truck beds, when they have the caps that have the Velcro, in the winter, they get ice on them, you never can't close them.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Oh.
So if you
Yeah.
had to take it out once and not get it heated up to
Mm.
get the ice off the Velcro, it won't stick.
Mm.
Lots of questions on that, yeah.
Hmm.
All right, does anybody have any comments tonight?
I'm all good.
I'm good.
All right.
Good.
Well, I have one
Yep.
comment. I wanted to say that I've had several people come up to me and say, Crocker is amazing. They're doing an amazing job. Everyone's
Perfect, yeah.
always busy, moving, doing something. We have a project going on Water Street, and there'll be 7 guys in one place and only one will be working. And we're just like, okay, not our problem.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, I'm really happy that the public opinion is positive about the how efficiently they are going about doing their work.
Knock on wood, it's been going
I'm,
smoothly.
well,
Yeah,
Weather's been good.
weather's been good.
Been good.
So, yeah.
Couldn't be any better.
Yeah, no, it's been good. So let's hope it holds up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah. So, all right. Well, good.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Josh made a motion. Second. Andrea seconds. All those in favor? Okay.